5, Part 1, Theory, Basic Qbasic Statements. Welcome back everybody. I'm Prakash Vedant, your trainer for this entire series. In today's topic, we're going to talk about some of the basic statements that's been used in a Qbasic, which are mandatory to know before you start the journey of writing a program, the longer process. In the long journey, I mean to say that. So now, first of all, we are going to talk today about the different types of statements that you find in a Qbasic. Of course, don't forget that this tutorial is made specifically for grade 9 and obviously it can be used for the grade 10 students. Now, the main concept or the idea of making this video is to help all those students, those who are finding difficulty to understand the Qbasic in your school syllabus. So I hope this video is going to be very much fruitful to all of you. Now, so first, we need to understand actually what are the basic statements. That means what are the statements that we use in a Qbasic. As I discussed last time in so many videos that in order to be able to write a program in Qbasic, you cannot jump ahead straight away to the control statement, to the looping, or it might be an array, or it might be this modular programming. It's not like that. That means first you need to understand some of the basic statements. Those are going to help you a lot in order to be able to write the greater program. So now today we are going to talk about some of the basic Qbasic statements without which you will not be able to write any program. So first statement that you can see over in the screen, that's a CLS statement. I have asked this question to many of the students, but maximum of them fail to give the exact meaning of the CLS statement. Now, the most important task of the CLS statement, writing a program in Qbasic, is actually to clear the output screen. That means whenever we write the program in Qbasic, you might have written so many other programs in your previous session for this one, or in that case what happens that when you run the program, it's going to display the previous output as well. So if you'd like to clear your output screen and display only the current program that you are running in Qbasic, in that case you'll have to write the CLS statement. So in short, CLS statement is used to clear an output screen actually. Okay, and it will clear all the previous output and displays only the current output of your program. Now, the next statement is that whenever you write a program in Qbasic, you also need to make sure that the formally program has to be ended. So, as the CLS statement is used to clear the output screen, end statement is used to terminate your program. That means after you write the end, your statements are not going to be executed, because the meaning of end means it's now terminated. So you need to make sure that when you write a program, you write at last end. And we do have a syntax over here. That means how you use this statement, right? If you see the first statement of CLS syntax, simply we write CLS and it's gonna clear the screen. And similarly, we do have your syntax for the end statement as well. Writing an end means it will end your program. So these are the two basic actually. So after that, now let's jump ahead to some other basic Qbasic statements without which we'll not be able to write a program. Now, most commonly used the basic statement in Qbasic is the print statement. So print statement is normally used to display output on the screen the data is being processed. That means when you write a program to display any data over the screen, that has to be supported by the output statement. So that output statement is the print statement. That means print statement is simply used to display the output on the screen after processing your raw facts. That means the data. So it can display any kind of value. That might be your numeric value or that might be your string value sometimes. So it depends upon the value that you provide of the variable or expressions. Now, if you want to see the syntax over here, normally how we use, we write a print and we write the list of expression. Now over here, list of the expression means it might be the variable. Okay, it might be constants or it might be expression. That means after the print statement, you will have to provide some of your constant expressions or the variable. If you see the example over here, I've written print welcome to the first output and the program is done. That means when you run the program, of course this is the theoretical portion and after this we are going to talk about the practical of this one. But first I want you to understand that when you write a print statement, along with the print, you are supposed to provide with the expression. That means what would you like to display over the screen? What would you like to give as an output? So that's why we write a print and we provide the statement. Okay, or the expression. That can be anything. It can be your variable as well as it can be your data as well in the print. That means in the form of the print statement. So I hope it was easy for you to understand. Now let's go ahead to the next important basic statement that we use in the Qbasic. See, I would like to repeat again, without having a knowledge of all of this basic statement in Qbasic, I'm sorry to say you will not be able to write a program. So that's why I'm going step by step slowly to explain the meaning of all of these statements. So if you still have some queries, I have a mail address, or you can write the comment as well. Now, the next important statement that we find in a Qbasic is rem statement. But don't forget, rem statement is non-executable statement. That means the rem statement in Qbasic is simply used to write the remark of your program. That means it's simply used to add remarks or comments in a program. Okay, this is a kind of remark or a kind of comment for the program for which you are coding actually. So the syntax is given over there, where the remark is the remarks about the program. That means if you are trying to write a program to find the sum of two numbers, you can simply write the rem and write the statement finding the sum of two numbers. So that will be treated as your remark. But don't forget, as I said earlier, rem statement is not executable. It's simply your remark that is being displayed only for the input screen, not for the output screen. That means by the time you write the program, you can write some sort of your small remark with the help of rem statement, but that will not get executed. So if you see the example over there, like we have over here now rem name display, that means this remark is only for the programmer, only for the user, whoever is writing the program. But when you run the program and you record only the output, trust me guys, the rem name display is not going to be executed over the screen. Why? This is just a non-executable statement. This is just a kind of a small remark that you would like to write so that it will be easy for you to understand for what you are doing this program. And then I wrote print one word, so this Prakash word will get displayed over the screen, whereas name display will not get displayed. So because, as I already mentioned, rem statement means a non-executable statement. It is simply used to add the remarks or the comments in a program. So this is not for the output screen. This is only used for the input screen. Now the next important basic statement we have over here is the let statement. This is the most commonly used or the widely used in a Qbasic. Let statement is used to assign a value into a variable in Qbasic. That means whenever you write any kind of program in Qbasic, you have to have a use of the variable. So now, along with the variable, we do use the let statement. That means the let statement will help you to assign a value into a variable. Like as you see over here in a example, let a is equals to 20. That means this let statement is helping you to assign a value 20 into a variable. So it goes in a circle. So let statement is used to assign a value into a variable. Okay, so simply it will help you to assign a value. So that's why if you see in this program, let a is equals to 20, a is being used to store the value 20 in a temporary memory. That we have already talked about the meaning of your variable. Now let b is equals to 30. That means b is also being held by the let statement to assign a value. Then let c is equals to a plus b. That means the sum of these two numbers are going to get stored in the c. And when I write print sum and c, it's going to display the sum of these two numbers, where this a and b is assumed as a let over here. That means the let statement is helping you to assign the value. So it's not mandatory to write all the time let in order to assign a value, but it's a formal program. Whenever you write a program, I suggest you to write the let statement, because the let statement mean to help you to assign a value into a variable. That does not mean if you do not use a let statement, if you simply write a is equals to 2, it's not going to accept. Of course it's going to accept, but for this purpose the let statement is already developed and designed to assign a value into a Qbasic programming. So that's why I suggest you to make a best utilization of this let statement. So now the next statement that we have over here is lprint statement. You might have heard lprint statement. Lprint statement is also non-executable for your output screen. That means this will help you to print the data over the printer. That means lprint statement directs the output to the printer. This is used for the printing purpose. Okay, now if you see the program over here, rem printer copy. Printer copy is just a remark, because we already discussed rem statement is used to give some sort of the remark, and that is a non-executable statement. But when I write lprint testing print, that means testing print will be redirected to the printer. So this statement we hardly use, to be honest. Okay, to be honest, we hardly use this, but it's better you know this one also. Okay. Now the next statement that we have, input statement. This is also widely used, most commonly used statement. Now input statement, it allows a user to input data during the execution of the program. For example, if you write let a is equals to 20, now a is constant, it is not going to change the value over there because you have already assigned the value. Whereas if I do input a, in that case, every time you run the program, during the execution of the program, the value of a can be changed. So it depends upon the need of the program. If you want to change the value of the in the program every time you run your program, so during the execution of program, if you are interested to change the value that's been assigned in that variable, in that case I suggest you to use the input statement. But if you do not want to change the value, that should be constant, in that case input is not used. So input statement will actually help you to assign a different value in the same variable. It's gonna help you a lot. Okay, and it's going to prompt a message to supply the value. So if you have a look to this example, of course I'm going to make another session for a practical implementation of all of this statement, but first I want you to understand so that the practical will be easy for you to understand. Now over here, if you see input enter your name, so this input enter your name will be the message to get displayed on the screen. And when you supply a value, since it's asking you to enter a name, this enter your name will be the message. And since it's displaying a message to enter a name, obviously the user is going to supply a name. So where do you think that name will get stored? Of course, I guess you're right, it will get stored in a variable name $. Now since we are talking about the alphabet to be stored, that means name is an alphabet, so that's why the variable type should be string. So that's why we have written the name $. Okay, now print your name is name $. So whatever name that you supply during the execution of the program, as per the definition of the first line over there, during the execution of time, whatever name you are going to supply, that name is going to get displayed over there. Because we have used the print statement, and we have already discussed in this basic statement that the print statement is used to execute the value after it's been processed. Okay. Now the next statement is line input. Line input allows a user to enter the data up to 255 characters. With delimiters, actually that might be comma, tab, colon, anything. That means if I use input $, so it's going to accept a value in $. Okay, whereas if I use line input statement, that will allow you to input a data up to 255 with delimiters. Whereas in a string variable, if I write input $, and I intend to supply a value and in between there is a space, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So that's why if I use the line input, no matter how many words you are going to supply, with the help of this line input to store a value in a single string variable, it's going to accept all of those words will get stored in a single one variable, which is not possible by simply using input $. Okay, now during the execution of program and assigns the data to a string variable. So using a single one variable, it will help you to store the multiple words. Actually, it might be in a form of sentence even sometimes. So if you'd like to store a data more than a one single string variable can assign, in that case I suggest you to use the line input. And to be honest, this is rarely used statement, but sometimes we might come across certain unavoidable circumstances that you are supposed to use this statement in order to support a data up to 255 characters. So that's why please make sure that you go through this line input statement as well. Of course, I'm going to show you in this practical implementation, but the first theoretical portion is also important for you all to understand. Now the next statement that we have over here is the swap statement. So let's take it. This is the last for today. Then I'm going to make a this practical video for this all the theoretical portion, because the reason there are many basic Qbasic statements and I cannot make a video of all of these statements in single one video. Why? Students will also find the difficulties to understand. So that's why we are going to stop only up to swap, and then I'm going to make a video for practical class of this one, and we'll continue rest of the basic statement in our next session. Now next important statement that is being displayed over the screen is the swap statement. So swap statement is used to exchange the values of two similar types of variables. That means sometimes we do need to swap the value also. That means exchange the value. If you have a look over here, in an example, you see the syntax is saying swipe first variable and the second variable. If you see this example carefully, let a is equals to 20. That means let statement is used to assign a value into a variable. We have already discussed, so you know the meaning of let. In A, we have stored 20. In B, I have stored 10. If I use the swap statement, so what it is going to do now, the value of B will be stored in A and the value of A will go to B. That means it will swap the value. So when I write print after swiping this, if you see the initial value of A as a 20, but now since they are swap, if I write print A, it's not going to print 20. Why? The value of A is already transferred to B and the value of B is transferred to A. That means the output of this program will be not 2010. Output will be 10 and 20. Okay, so these all were the theoretical portion for the sum of the basic Qbasic statements. Now we'll go to the practical implementation of all of these statements so that you can gain the experience of using these commands in the practical basis also. So now this was the theoretical portion for the sum of the basic Qbasic statements that you are supposed to go through. Now we'll meet in our next practical session where I'm going to show you practically using all of these basic statements that we discussed everything today regarding this basic Qbasic statements. So if you find it fruitful, please do like and subscribe, and see you in our next video using the practical implementation of all of these statements. Thank you.